And we're live.
Okay, we are back. Our apologies. There was a fire alarm that was pulled at Buffalo City Hall, so that's the reason for the abrupt cessation of the meeting. We're going to continue up with where we left off. Mr. Henry, you were discussing the need for speed bumps in Judges Row. If you had anything more that you wanted to add to that.
Yeah, I will not waste your time. I did talk with Commissioner Finn. He told me that the city crews are able to clear snow from permanent speed humps. They've been practicing those in vacant parking lots. The people in Rochester do it, he told me. The people in Minneapolis do it, he told me. So I've sent him a map, and I've talked with engineer Nolan Skipper. I sent him a map of the streets here in Judges Row and where we want the speed humps. I will mention that an elderly woman on Burke told me it took her 10 minutes to get out of her driveway because of the traffic. And I nearly got run down crossing Eldon, which is a very short street. Nearly got run down by a Mercedes convertible who had crossed over Eggert from Minnesota onto Eldon and put the pedal to the metal until she saw me, because I was frozen, not knowing which way to go. That's a very short street. And then after she stopped, a car came up behind her and beeped at her to say, "Get going, for Pete's sake." So I made it across the street, and she just drove on through the stop signs at Huntley and Eldon, and she drove through the stop signs at Burke and Huntley. So something needs to be done. It can be done. I won't waste your time anymore. Thank you for listening to me. I'm glad to know you're all okay and everybody in City Hall is okay.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Wyatt?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to thank Mr. Howard for his efforts. He gives a lot of accolades from the block club members. I mean, he actually has a map laying out where the speed humps are to go. So I thank him for his engagement and involvement. And as I stated at our meeting, which he was at on Saturday, we did hear from Mr. Skipper. However, he didn't give us a definitive date on which those speed humps will be put in place. So, you know, they did apologize because it has been more than 2 years in which they've been waiting. The block clubs have been waiting for information on this Safe Streets campaign. And it's really, really important. And I just hope that we don't wait until there's an incident for us to really roll out this program and really make our residents safe. I know where Mr. Henry lives, there's a lot of cut throughs. I know Tree Haven is like a speedway. So we just have to do something. It just seems that it shouldn't take us 3 years to do something with this. I think there's really been a lot of public input on this. People are eager to have it done. And I'm just hopeful that we can get something done before the end of this year, sooner than later, especially as it relates to our children and they go return back to school September 1. We need to have speed humps in those areas. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Would you like to table this?
Motion to table, yes.
Okay. Motion is to table.
Thank you. Goodbye. Have a
Yes,
good
thank
meeting.
you. Motion is by Mr. Wyatt to table, seconded by Mr. Rivera.
Item 2, report of sale 244 Maple.
Items open.
Okay, this item is open. I believe this is the Fruit Belt, Mr. Pridgeon.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, thank you. I know this item, there have been some correspondence from residents concerning the amount of the sale. I know that they've reached out to several council members also. And so I've asked Ms. Young Watkins to be on to explain the process that was gone through in order to come up with the $9,000 price. And I believe that this is one lot, correct?
Yes, this is one residential lot.
So, Mr. Chair, if you allow for Ms. Young Watkins to talk about that.
Yes, you have the floor. Ms. Young
So
Watkins, yeah.
So thank you, council members. So we received in the Division of Real Estate a request for 244 Maple, and appraisal was presented to us. The original appraisal presented earlier in this year around March, I think, came to the Appraisal Review Board in April. It was listed and offered at a price of $2,750. That appraisal was actually denied by the Appraisal Review Board based on what we felt were not adequate comparables. We didn't feel the comparables were within the same area and definitely not of the same market value in place. Within about 30 days of that, the appraiser, which is one of the approved appraisers on our list, Northeastern Appraisal, reappeared and provided a revision to us, utilizing comparisons that were much closer in the area and showing values that were definitely an increase and had increased their value to $9,150. At that time, the Appraisal Review Board did accept that based on the comparisons that have been provided. And just to state that as a board, we are not able to provide a number. We are simply there to either approve or deny that they have the appropriate comparables or market values around.
So if I may, Mr. Chair, so one of the letters from a constituent states that the comparables in that area are 120,000. Did you all see anything like that?
So when appraisers or even a broker is using a broker's price opinion or a comparative market analysis, the difference is that they have to go on what is considered closed sales, right? So they can't go on what may be actively presented. I'm sure there are some active, and I did look, so there are some active things in the market that are extremely or significantly higher than this value, but they have not closed yet. They're not under contract, they're not pending, they're not closed. And unfortunately, when appraiser goes out, what is considered market value means what are buyers actually paying at this time. So what they're paying is what's closed, right? What's active means someone has just placed a number on that, but no one has yet agreed to that value. Buyers in the local market have not agreed. So it doesn't mean they won't, maybe somebody will pay that, but when the appraiser is doing their evaluation, they have to base it on closed sales. So we have not seen closed sales that we can see that were in that 100,000 range.
Okay, because, and I think the attorney for the project is on, and there are other people. How many people are in that appraisal review board? I know you have several, right?
So there has to be a quorum that discusses, but there are also other, what I would call advisory individuals. And then typically there are a number of appraisers themselves, but the appraiser who not only does the specific appraiser, but then you typically have one or two others who have done that who join us. So.
All righty. I'm done with what I had to ask, Mr. Chair. There might be others.
Councilmember Wyatt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I just wanted to add, I'm just for full disclosure, as the finance chair, I am on the appraisal review committee as well. And we did send that back because it didn't seem it was comparable with what was around. So it's a very thorough process, and it's according to the guidelines that are given to us by Corporation Counsel, and it's in our charter. So we just can't come up with a number. We have to utilize what's available. And Director Watkins does a fantastic job in making sure we're on point with those key points. So, and then we also have Corporation Counsel assisting us. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
So, Mr. Chair, I'm okay with sending this without rec.
Okay, motion is to send without rec, seconded by Councilmember Rivera. Thank you, Director.
Thank you.
Item number 3, request Department of Public Works policy for lot cleaning.
Items open.
Okay, this item is open. Mr. Wyatt.
Yeah, and I wanted to grab the director. We have no one from Public Works on.
That's correct, sir. We had Commissioner Finn scheduled for this. However, he is still occupied dealing with the aftermath of the alarm that just got.
Okay. Well, if we have Director Watkins, if she can speak to this, I don't know if she's aware of this particular item, but Mr. Chair, if we can
Yep.
ask her.
Sure, she's here, yes. And she
And I'm
can
sorry, I
try,
was actually about to sign off. So which item am I looking at?
I believe it's item number 4, and if you're not up to speed on this, that's fine, just let us know.
Yeah. And if, Mr. Chair, if I
Item number
can,
3, I'm sorry.
can I speak to it, Mr. Chair?
Yeah, I'm sorry, council member.
Yeah, Director Watkins, the question is, we have a number of city lots that seem to be not cut in a timely fashion. And I have a couple in my district in which they're cut very late. There's a lot of blight because it's high grass. And then when it is cut, the paper and the glass, none of that's removed, it's just cut. And so we now have big clumps of grass and debris, and it's causing some major stresses for a lot of the block clubs. So I wanted to know, is there a schedule that is in place, or do we need to put out an RFP so it's not the maintenance crew from Public Works, because they seem to be, of course, everywhere. I know that they just had big trash day, a lot of things going on, but we really need to get a handle on that because that's always been a constant problem, that these lots are cut and they're cut when they're the highest, and it's a real problem. So I just wanted to know what is our process, or if there's some way that we can begin a process to make sure that those lots are maintained in a more timely fashion.
So actually, there have been some conversation between the two divisions, the Public Works, with Deputy Commissioner Henry Jackson and my real estate manager, Reginald Terry, that was just put into place. And so we have recognized that there have been a number of 311s with the residential vacant lots that have come into play. And Public Works does have probably about 10,000 lots that they tend to handle, so it's quite a bit. So the discussions are now in place that real estate, because we do have a subcontract also with the CEO that can come along and help us, that we are going to look at taking a great deal of those residential lots on to try to assist in that not happening, that there is a more regular frequency of how often those lots get taken care of, and that things like the debris get a little bit more attention when we're in a residential neighborhood other than those larger commercial type lots. So those discussions have just begun within the last week or two, but the intention is to make those changes and that modification so you don't see that anymore. So we are already taking action to that.
So when do you anticipate possibly having some, because is that going to be something after this season, or is that something you think it'll be something soon? Because the lots that were already cut are already high again.
It's something happening currently. We actually have taken over quite a few right now, Sycamore Village, things on Roosevelt. So we are trying to identify, and actually the Keith Lucas, the data analyst director, is pulling for me those residential lots in each one of your districts so that my team can begin to go evaluate them and begin to cut them immediately. So this is something I think you'll see happening relatively soon. If you just give me a few minutes, I'm going to get on it.
Okay. Now, in addition to that, and it's still the same thing, are we putting forth the effort? I know you talked about putting a lot of the lots and a lot of the properties on the MLS system. Are we doing that? Because I know we had conversation before about those lots that were next to residential homes. If we could work with people to get those in those hands, because I know that part of the Homestead Act, a homestead process was supposed to allow people to purchase those. Are we doing anything like that with regularity to try to get those homes that have our vacant city lots in the hands of people who may live next door and may be interested in purchasing?
So currently we have a system, the Talame system, which is an online system where we're taking our applications. I don't know if you're familiar with that. So our applications are now coming through that Talame lot, and all of the inventory is allowed to be turned on through that. My team is actually doing an individual kind of turn on as individuals apply. We turn that lot on, we send them the link, and they can apply directly to that particular lot. As far as sending out or doing anything directly to ask individuals if they want the lots next to, that was an effort, is my understanding, prior to my coming in, that happened. And I don't think they received a ton of results from that. The ones they did receive, they have acted upon and we have moved forward with, but we have not received many others like that at this time. As far as Homestead, we are receiving very few of those, believe it or not, in what's happening now. And I think it's greatly to do with the fact that, number one, to our applaud, Buffalo's market has gained value. And so homesteading looks a little bit different, right? Homesteading is something that I think has turned the corner a little bit. And so when we look at certain levels, we may be able to do below value, but we're probably not doing so much of a giveaway as what was heard of before.
Thank you so much. Oh,
You're muted, Rashid.
I'm sorry. Can you send me the link for the homestead? Because what I want to do is I would like to work with your office. I know I just got a list of all the vacant lots in my district. Thank you to your office for getting me that, and trying to reach out to the community because we just have so many of them, and they could be homestead by folks who are currently, actually in a number of cases, they are already cutting them, taking care of them. But I would definitely love to be able to work with you and try to get those in their hands that would take it off the city's list. Thank you.
Okay, before we go to you, Mr. Bowman, I just wanted to mention that there's going to be a letter in front of the council this week, and it's from a couple of different people in my district, Ann McCooey, Alyssa Hamilton, and some organizations. And we received permission from Commissioner Spin to do a demonstration project in the Riverside part of North District. And we're calling it Lots of Clover. We're actually looking into working through Cornell to get a type of clover that only grows like 2 to 3 inches. And that is actually very, very good for the environment. And that would preclude us having to be out there every 7 to 10 days, depending on what the weather is like. And if this works out well, I mean, it's worked out. I think they've done it in Detroit, and there were a couple of other cities that they've been doing this in. If it works out well for us, I think that that's something that would be helpful throughout the entire city. And this was really, really cool because it was myself and a bunch of constituents that were sitting down during a cleanup in the neighborhood, and ideas were just getting bandied back and forth. And Alyssa said to me, she goes, I've already done some research and I think this is a good idea. And so it really was bottom up, from the neighborhood. I'm also very fortunate. I don't have a lot of vacant lots in the North District. There's a handful in Riverside and Black Rock and a few more on my little part of the West Side. But I don't have the same numbers that other people do. Also, when they do become available, neighbors will gobble them up very quickly. Last week, we saw, I think it was 394 and 396 Tonawanda Street. The next door neighbor bought one of them. So we've been very fortunate to get rid of those lots very quickly. But, take a look this week when we put the information in front of the council, and, keep your fingers crossed that it's successful. And maybe it's something that we could do, eventually citywide. Mr. Bowman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to, commend Councilmember Wyatt. I think this is very timely, and I'm sure he feels the same pressure I'm feeling in the Lovejoy district about the vacant lots, and they're overgrown. And then when they are cut, it's messy, but I can understand that, there are over 10,000, as our director said. So I'm hopeful and happy that there is a plan that we're moving towards. I would love to see it because I really do want to see a higher quality of life. And I've had a lot of vacant lots over on, Langmeyer and Shrek. We have quite a few over there. So I just want to see those lots be maintained. And, we had an issue with a resident over there last week, and the city did come and cut it, thankfully, but just want to see these lots get cut in a timely manner. looking forward to that. If I could be helpful in any way, I would like to be. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. I think that's it. We could table this.
Motion to table?
Motion is to table, seconded by Councilmember Wyatt.
Mr.
Is
Chairman.
the last item?
And Mr. Chairman, we have two notes. One, Commissioner Finn has joined us. If there was any interest in revisiting that conversation and questions directly to him. Also, we had a note from Mr. Wingo before he left the meeting to pull item number 54 from the table.
Okay, Councilmember Wyatt, did you have any questions for Commissioner Finn, or were they answered, or it's up to you whether?
Yeah, Director Watkins kind of included us in the conversation she's had with them, so I'm fine with that.
Okay, all right.
Thank
And so we just have the item for Mr. Wingo, and he is not with us currently. I don't have everybody on my screen.
That's correct, sir. He requests number 54 to be pulled from the table.
Motion to
Okay.
take items 54 from the table?
Seconded by Council President. The items before us. If he's not here, why don't we send this without recommendation, and then he can decide at caucus what he would like to do with this in front of the full council.
At your discretion, Mr. Chair. However, he has noted that he would like it.
Motion
to
for
be recommended
recommendation.
for approval.
Well, I'm sorry, Chief of Staff.
Yes, sir, at your discretion, but he has left a note to say that he would like it recommended for approval.
Oh, okay, all right.
Motion is to approve.
Motion is to approve, seconded by Council President Pridgen.
No further items. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, seconded by Council Member Wyatt. Thank you.